Okay, welcome back or welcome to the YouTube watchers. Double J weekend review and our first interview ever. Our first interview ever with TikTok star Cameron Connell, also known as Connelldinho on TikTok at Connelldinho. So y'all go give him a follow after this interview, which is great. A great interview. We talked some FA Cup final with him, mostly the United side, some of the good stuff into what United should do this summer, this, that, and the other. And then we're going to get into the FA Cup final from a City perspective, just me and Jace, before getting into Jace's transfer corner, Jace's little transfer corner, and getting out of here. We'll see you guys on the other side. Okay, welcome back, Double J weekend review slash our first interview with someone you know very well if you're on TikTok, social media, anything. It is Cameron Connell, aka Connelldinho, my favorite TikTok nickname in the game. We're going to start out with our FA Cup final. We're going to give Cameron an icebreaker here. I always want to call you Connelldinho, by the way. That's going to be a consistent running thing for this entire interview. So, FA Cup final. We're going to start this interview off spicy. Is David De Gea's United career over as of the FA Cup final? Or I'm going to open this up to, should it be?
I'm going to be honest. I think, the FA Cup sucked. Let's just be honest. It sucked.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for De Gea. He got the Golden Glove this season. I think that's really nice. And I think he should close the book on that note, at least as the number one.
I agree. I think the number one status is probably gone. He might extend. I think we'll talk about that when we get into United summer as a whole with you and how you see that going. But as a number one, I think it's done. I think it's kind of cooked. He's had his time. We've had so many mistakes this season. I mean, we talked to Jace about it already a little bit. Sevilla, we're out of the Europa League because of errors, and the FA Cup, we're out of the competition because of errors. So it kind of sucks. We miss out on two, at least being able to try for those titles. I think we did well in the game. And Ten Hag stated after the game, he thinks we're the only team that can fight City. I'm not really sure that's true, but from your point of view, do you think there are actual signs that going into next season we can fight that behemoth?
Yeah, I mean, we saw a much better season than what I would have expected, to be honest. I mean, there was times where we went like 8, 9, 11 games undefeated. I think mentally we were there for a big part of the season, which is good. I mean, someone for Rashford, I look at Rashford example, like, man, he's a big sign of how our season turned out. Last season that was probably the worst time of his career, and then this season is the best time of his career. So there's definitely a lot of positives. I think we're heading in the right direction. I don't know about about challenging City for a title yet, but I think challenging for maybe one more cup next year, definitely.
That's where I'm kind of at too. It depends on the summer, I think, is the biggest thing. Ownership, all that stuff. It's so up in the air. As a United fan, you can't really tell how far this team can go and how far Ten Hag's going to be allowed to go. But I would agree with that. We know you're a huge Alejandro Garnacho fan. And while we're talking about the FA Cup final, Jace, I know you and I'm a huge Alejandro Garnacho fan. Jace is probably challenges me as far as Starboy and calling him Starboy because Jace has his own in Bukayo Saka, and we get it. Yeah, he's really good, whatever.
Yeah, but he's at the age where he's approaching the graduation from Starboy phase.
I agree.
Like he's been on the scene for 4 or 5 years now. But I mean, I think the term fits Garnacho perfectly. I mean, it was a nice cameo at the end of this FA Cup. I think he always shows flashes. He looks like he might have the potential to be a big game kind of player. But my question for you is, do you give him the number 7?
Me personally, I give him the number 7 this minute if I could. I give him the number 7 straight away.
Let's go.
I think we're both on that same page.
Everybody's on the page.
Yeah.
Like Anthony and Sancho, I think there were rumors at the beginning of the season they were fighting over the number 7, and now like 7 or 8 months later, it's like, nah, give it to the 18-year-old Argentinian kid.
I mean, you guys know, like, he makes it very obvious that he's a big Ronaldo fan. Yeah. So I say give it to him, man. The kid wants a challenge. He's 18. He's got the minerals. Let him take it. Let him be that guy, and let him make it AG7 instead of CR7. Let him make his own legacy.
Oh, I like that. I love that. That's kind of cold. AG7 is kind of cold. All right. We'll stop with the FA Cup final. We talked a little bit of City already on the back end. We don't want to make you and force you talk about those absolute a-holes and how good they are and how incredible and unbeatable. As Ten Hag's season as a whole, as we finish the season, How would you rate the first season? Because I think I said 8 or 9 out of 10, and that's
I
probably
said
being
9.
a little high for most people. I think United fans I've seen after the FA Cup final were saying 7 out of 10, which is crazy to me. Where are you for his first season?
I think if you give me one more month, I'd go up and give you a 9. I think with the stinging of the FA Cup, I'd probably start saying I'd even look at number 7, but I think very fair would be 8, 8.5. I think the way all the things we talked about already, winning games, getting to an FA Cup final. I mean, we haven't won a trophy in 6, 7 years. So I think finishing third, FA Cup final, we've got a pretty young squad doing pretty well, a lot of attacking football. I'd say with what he's been given, with the situation, like, we've still got the Greenwood situation going on. We had the Ronaldo situation, the Glazer situation. The lows this season were pretty low, but the highs were much higher than we've seen. So I'd say an 8 is very fair.
That's kind of
I
where I
think he's
was.
done such a good job with the situations too.
Yeah.
Like just this off the pitch stuff, as you mentioned, Ronaldo, Greenwood. I mean, dealing with your captain being benched for the entirety of the season and first half of the season answering questions about Maguire, what felt like every other week he was being asked about the club captain not playing. So I think he did so well with the off the field issues.
And I mean, we talked about this, I guess, last week on the show, Jace, but just to wrap Cameron into it too, he got interrogated like he was up for murder by Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher 2 weeks into the year after Brentford and Brighton. So if we want to go on this thing of like, oh well, he did okay, I guess, it's like 2 games into the season, y'all were calling for his head. So at this point, I think he's done really well.
Yeah, and I mean the preseason was really, really good until like the last, I think, game or two.
Yeah.
So I think he was building such a he was getting the trust, and then the season hit him like really hard. Like we had that 2-1 loss and then the 4-0 loss. But I think how he bounced back from that, from going like, oh, he's building fans, building respect, drops straight down, and then he builds it back up. I think that deserves a point in itself on the scale, because like a lot of managers, and like you guys said with the criticism, a lot of guys would fold straight away from that. So I think
I completely agree with the fact that there could have, and we look at Frank de Boer, the last like Dutch manager who's come from the Dutch league to the Premier League, folded as quickly as anyone's folded in their life. Pretty insane that we are where we are.
Frank accepted a job in either Qatar or Saudi Arabia a couple days ago, actually.
Not surprising. Not surprising. Yeah, that's the perfect place for Frank de Boer. All right, we're gonna get into United summer here in a bit. We want to get into actual, Cameron, the stuff you've been doing, which is insane. Dive into this game. Our kind of interest in this game. My dad's British, has been a United fan, whose dad was a United fan, whose dad was a United fan. So this is just in my blood kind of thing. Jace, same way. Dad was huge into football, played in collegiate level, and then gets into it. How did you actually get into it?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. My family, all my family's from Ireland, so they're all, they're huge into it.
Yeah.
If I mean, you guys are probably familiar, but the Irish league isn't the best, so majority of Ireland is split between the top 6 of the Prem, and luckily enough, my family's United, so I grew up a United fan, and then like any other kid, had a cell phone, was on TikTok, was on Instagram, watching all that stuff, and I really like what I saw, and I was like, I watched all these YouTubers and FIFA guys growing up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this. So during COVID, when footy TikTok was popping, I started. I made an edit or two, and I was like, you know what, nah, I want to put my face in these. And about 2022, beginning of the year, I just said, screw it, man, just gonna go for it, bite the bullet. Started posting myself. Got a lot of flaming. It was
it ain't easy doing TikTok.
Not a smooth process.
Not very welcoming, but you can warm their hearts as time goes on, and thankfully enough, I've been able to get a few followers, so it's been pretty cool. It's been awesome, and then to get to meet guys like you guys, and it's so cool. So
hey, we get to meet a guy like you. That's more. More for us. This is awesome for us personally, because when I first saw you on TikTok, this is the funny thing. You talk about getting flamed. You have the British look because you've got the British genes. Kind of the same way I get the same thing of like, dude, you've got that little bit of British in you. And then I hear you talk for the first time in one of your TikToks, and the majority of the comments are, "Holy hell, this guy's a Yank," and it just it killing me.
It's crazy. Some people respected my opinion, and as soon as they hear New York accent, they're like, "Oh, this guy knows nothing." I'm like, last week you said I was a genius. So
Last week he's calling for Garnacho to get the 7. You're on your knees saying thank you, our Lord Connelldinho. The next week you hear he's got an American accent, you're done with him. It's insane.
Invalid.
Invalid.
I give myself a pat on the back though when I get those comments like, "Oh, you're pretty cool for an American." So I like that.
Dude, that's the thing. If there is one thing that you've taken and you've just been like, F it, I don't give a crap. Like, you're not going to change your accent. You're not going to be able to like change where you're from or anything like that. There's a huge stigma. And that was the reason we started this podcast, is because me and Jasce were sitting there, we were like, we know what we're talking about, as well as these guys that come on here, the same way that you probably, the brain you had on getting on TikTok, on football TikTok, where you're going, I know what I'm talking about here. I can be able to put my voice in this and actually do something pretty cool,
Yeah.
which you say I've got a couple of followers. 70,000 followers we're about to push on TikTok ain't just a couple, brother. No. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a blessing, man. You got to thank God for that. It's so cool. But yeah, no, like you guys said, if you know what you're talking about, you might as well. I think there's definitely a stigma, but I won't look at someone with a British accent talking about the NBA weird, but apparently we get looked at weird. But it's okay. It is what it is. But
yeah. And we won't get into our NBA stuff because we're Grizzly fans here, and this is the worst offseason in our entire history. So we'll leave the NBA to British people to talk about this summer. Yeah. But the next thing I think we saw, me and Jasce both, you got flown out to Bayer Leverkusen recently. How dope was that? Was it a sponsored trip? That's also the thing I want to know.
Yeah, so basically it got set up through a mutual friend of mine. His name is Jack Grimsey. He's a really, really good content creator. He's located in New York also.
Nice.
Big fan. Yeah, love him. You guys should check him out.
Absolutely.
So he's really big in this. He's been doing this for a few years and he knows a lot of the guys in Europe. And he got me, connected with one of the guys and they said, hey, you know what? Let's send him an email. We like his stuff. They basically messaged me and said, hey, do you want to come out to a game? I was like, oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. When? Where?
Exactly. I said, send me the dates and I'll book the flights. And they were like, no, don't worry. We got you. And I was like, what?
That is dope.
Bro, Bayern Leverkusen, like, talk about like the nicest group of people I've ever met, man. Everyone from the top to the bottom of that whole company, they were so nice. Like literally everyone was so welcoming. They had everything covered. They said, oh, we'll let you meet this person, let you come here, let you see that, the facilities, training ground, everything, man. It was like it was such a blessing, dude. They're so nice people. Everything was so cool. Like the German experience is insane, obviously.
That is dope.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, man, like that's how far TikTok can take you. So hopefully there's more to come, and especially for you guys too. Hopefully you guys can get some opportunities like that. It's so cool, man.
Dude,
that just sounds awesome.
Yeah, literally, you could make us book our own plane tickets and everything. We don't need the sponsorships because of that we will do it. And he's the same way. He was literally like, just let me know when I need to book my tickets. And them doing all that for you is insane. Did you get to meet Xabi Alonso? Because that's the thing about Leverkusen too. They're up and coming and they're kind of sick right now. They're on the huge rise. They've got a sick manager in Xabi Alonso. How dope was that?
Yeah, it was really cool. I got to I don't know if you guys are on my Twitter, but I got to go into the interview room, the media room with him.
Yes, yeah.
And dude, it was like, man, that guy has aura. That guy has aura.
He's that aura.
We were, I barely speak German, but I'm hearing German gibberish all around me. And this guy opens the door and it went like silent, like completely silent. Everybody respected him. Walked in the room, asked some questions. Super nice guy. He was totally, they just came off a loss to their rivals in the derby, and he was still super nice, calm, respectful. He was so cool, man. I got to meet Callum Hudson-Odoi also. We got to chill with him for a little.
That's cool.
That's sick. Yeah.
Super friendly guy, such a nice guy. And and then for the game, that was pretty much it. Those are the only two guys we saw for the game. Next day, went to the training grounds, got to meet a bunch of the guys after. Got to meet Xavi, Florian Wirtz, a bunch of guys. Got to take some cool pictures. But dude, you get starstruck. You really get starstruck.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I'll have this great TikTok idea in my head, like, oh, I'm gonna make this video with Xavi. I see Xavi, I'm like, my phone, I can't even pick up my phone.
No. Yeah. My phone's broken. It doesn't work anymore. It's broken permanently. Yeah, that's actually dope as hell. Because when I was looking through that stuff, and I got on your Twitter, and there's some other stuff we want to ask you about too, because you tweeted something last night that both me and Jasce are very, very pro as far as Tyler Adams goes. The Leverkusen thing, though, seeing you in that press room do you think that is like the new stage of this kind of, you talk about content creation and the opportunities TikTok allows? Do you think we're getting into that stage where people are tired of hearing of the old dusty ballers talk about the game that they kind of know, and they hear these guys like you, like us, who come on here and kind of give it to you as straight as they possibly can, don't beat around the bush, don't give you all these kind of talk and buzzwords about football? Do you think that's the way forward?
Yeah, I definitely think I would say it's one of the ways forward. Definitely. I think that I mean, you see your favorite TikToker, you see your favorite, Twitter football account, you see them go out to these events and you're locked in, you go check it out. I think they have insane pull. I think some influencers, if that's the right word, have better pull than some footballers do. It's crazy. Some of
Yeah.
the guys, it's like, look at Speed.
Turista and Speed right now. Like Turista
Yeah,
on the football front, that we
exactly.
talk about 4-letter words starting with an A. Turista comes up with it and actually has it on inside. He's in City's ground. He's lifting the Premier League trophy. Like, what is this for
Yeah, no,
content creation?
it's insane, and to think he does that off Twitter, like it's
Literally.
mind blowing. All credit to him, man. It's such a good achievement, and to see, like we said, like Speed. Even the I forget how to say his last name. I think his name's Ivan. The Brazilian guy, the
Yeah, yeah,
horse.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, him.
Verseva. Yeah.
I mean, bro, it's amazing the things you can do with it, and people forget, like footballers, managers, all these people. Not everyone will be interested to hear what the pundits have to say, what the interviews have to say, but all of them have phones, and all of them go on TikTok. So, Ronaldo, he might not post it, but he's probably going on TikTok every once in a while laughing at this stuff. So you got to remember, all these footballers and these greats they're all people too. So I think influencers, content creation, all these things, it's more relatable, than it is a boring interview, press room question. All respect to them. That's a super cool job, super cool. Footy nerds like me and you guys would love that. But
Yeah.
to the average person, they're gonna love the guy that goes screaming, doing backflips and doing Ronaldo celebrations.
Yeah. That's what people want to see.
Especially the players coming up too that have
Mm-hmm.
had TikTok since they were like in these academies. They're
Yep.
used to watching it every day, and then all of a sudden, they're playing at Old Trafford or the Emirates or the Etihad, but they're not changing their habits. They're still going to TikTok as much as they are watching as much content that way. And I feel like that just gives you the opportunity to grow your relationship with the younger generation better than these guys that have been asking questions for Sky or BBC or whatever for 30 plus years. Like the guys that were asking our team's managers questions when they were like, when they were playing.
Arteta got the same thing that Ten Hag got a season ago, as Jace likes. I mean, it is perfect, where everyone and their mother that's watching those two managers get interrogated 2 weeks onto the job are going, this is excessive and not necessary. Kind of, what are we doing here? And content creators like you, like us, are saying that to them, going like, this is excessive, unnecessary. I'd like to hear from him. I don't want to see him get interrogated, right? Either of them. They seem like good managers. So I think that's kind of the move going forward, is just like, people appreciate a simple answer to simple questions, as simple as you can give them, whether it's a 15-second clip of you doing stupid stuff like saying United want a simple transfer window and Neymar Jr. links come up. Like, that had me geeking the other day, because it was so true.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes we know what we're part of the fan base, right? We're part of, footy fans in general. We kind of know what this generation hears, says, and talks about. Like the word aura, for example. Jamie Carragher's not going to go say, oh, Harvey Elliott has that aura. But, if you put someone else up in there, like, a TikToker, and they'll go, he has that aura. That's got 10 million clicks already,
Oh, yeah.
And people interact and people love that. And I think the older generation, to say, they're good for the older generation. My dad, my uncles, they'll watch Roy Keane, they'll watch Carragher, they'll watch Neville talk about these things because they love these guys. The same way that I'll go watch Speed, talk on Sky Sports because I love that guy. It's like that. So
Yeah.
it's one of the ways. It's definitely one of the ways moving forward.
Well, dude, you are one of them moving forward too.
Oh,
I think you need to know that. I think you're getting invited out to Leverkusen games and doing this stuff. You are one of them moving forward. Let's get into United this summer, and then we'll get you out of here. We'll let you go. We've had you on here for what feels like a minute now, but it's been awesome. God, we need to do this again. We need to keep on doing this, dude, because
I'm loving it, man.
United this summer. I've said that this summer is going to be huge. You've probably been there, and we've also said, we need a striker this summer. For about 6 months, I've said we've needed a striker. I don't think the Wout Weghorst experiment should go past this point. I don't think it should go past this point.
No.
Who are you looking at? Who are you looking at? If you had an ideal transfer window, right? No ownership problems, anything like that. Who are you getting in?
If I could take 3 players, right? I wrote this down the other day, actually. 3 players, no,
Right.
transfer, no ownership rubbish, none of that. I would go Kim and Jay from Napoli. I would go Evan Ferguson from Brighton. And of course, I would finish it off with Tyler Adams, my main man from the New York. That
Oh,
would be the finishing product. I think those 3, that's something everywhere, it's defender, midfielder, forward. I think that would be the perfect idea. If we could only get 3 transfers, that would be ideal for me. That's what I would move forward with.
he hasn't listened to this podcast before, and he just said 3 players that I have been heralding for like 8 months now. Where I'm like,
Oh,
Evan
you wanted
Ferguson's
Evan
perfect.
Ferguson since he literally his first start for Brighton. He was just like, oh my God, he'd be perfect at United.
Yeah, I was all over it, Evan Ferguson. I've said Tyler Adams is going to go for so cheap this summer that we should be able to get him as a Casemiro backup, and he'd be the perfect Casemiro replacement, I think, in a couple years. Well, also, people forget Tyler Adams scored a goal in a Champions League semifinal or a Champions League quarterfinal to send them to a semifinal. Like, let's calm down on how much we're disrespecting him, because I think his price tag's like 20, probably 25 million this summer.
They're going to lose money on him, I feel like, which is crazy. But I mean, that's what happens when you get relegated, I suppose.
Yeah, that is what happens. And I love the Kim and Jay shout too. That looks like it's probably done as of now as well. We can talk about. I think the release clause is probably going to be triggered in very soon. Is that a big thing for you too? I was on here last summer when we first started this. And also, it's been a year since we started this. Happy to finally get you on for our first what we're calling first real interview.
Awesome.
The transfer business getting done at proper timing, not waiting until August, not waiting until the end of the window to get something done. Isn't that going to be crucial this summer for United, specifically more than any summer before this?
I just lagged for 1 second. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. This summer is obviously last summer I was yelling at the board saying how long they're taking on transfers. Yeah. This summer has to be huge for getting in transfers early, I think too. Is that as crucial as getting them in general?
Yeah, well, like being 100% honest, to become Manchester United again, we need double-digit recruitments, right? We need a lot of guys. And I was on talking with a few friends the other day, and they were like, I think we need one in every position. So, I think we're not going to get that. Let's be honest. We're not going to get more than 8 transfers. No. 8 is a big number in itself. But I think if we want to have a good window and if we want to attract more players, I think we need to move fast. I think we need at least one guy by June.
I agree.
We can slow down a little bit in July, but I think we definitely need one in June and maybe one towards the end, August. I don't know. I don't know with the whole the ownership situation. It's like, is the club going to go buy, someone like Kim and Jay, for example, or right. let's say Evan Ferguson, young, probably won't be too expensive. Kind of, I personally think it's a great investment, but it's technically high risk, high reward, right? Because he's so young and he's only had so much time to prove himself. But say we go buy him, the Glazers buy him, right? And then Qatar comes in and they're like, oh, they just bought this guy for, let's say, 30 million. We didn't want to waste 30 million on him. We're not buying this club. Something like that can affect it. Or they go buy, let's say, Kim and Jay or, some big name star and they spend a lot of money. The club's going to be like, well, I didn't want him. You just bought him. Now we're going to have to use him, so it's, it's really tricky to bounce around, but I would love to see them move fast. I'd love to see them get at least one done by the end of June and then see how they want to move from there.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I think Ten Hag's also said it, I think, a couple times now where he's like, we need to get on this quicker than we normally do. And by normally do, I mean the last 10 years of y'all doing transfer business. We can't be doing that BS any longer. Well, Cameron, I think that's all we got. Jace, you have anything else? Do you have one more question for him, or you think that's it? I think
that's it. Appreciate it.
All right, Cameron, we're going to have you back on soon for 100%. Sure. Big United signing, Harry Kane. No, not Harry. I would love Harry Kane, but I don't know, man.
I don't know. I think if Real Madrid come knocking, he's not looking back.
Yeah, and Daniel Levy ain't looking at us at all. Daniel Levy is giving us a big middle finger. I can already smell it. So
he'll ask you at 11:30 on August 31st if you want. Like, all right, do you want Harry Kane now?
Yeah, no, and we'd still say yes. United would be like 120 million. Yes, get him in, because that's just how we do business. Cameron.
That's a shout. I feel like that's a last minute. That's
what's going to happen.
It could definitely happen. Now that you said it. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, well, thank you so much, brother. We will have you back on here soon. No doubt about it. United's first signing. We'll have you back on. Can't wait. Keep growing that TikTok, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, boys. God bless.
I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
See you
of
soon.
course. Thank you, boys. See ya.
Okay, welcome back. Double J weekend review. And thank you for listening to our interview, which is kind of funnily being recorded tomorrow from when we're recording this right now. Nonetheless, we got to wrap up some FA Cup stuff because we are essentially only going to talk United with our interviewee. Interviewee? Yes, interviewee. We are the interviewers. Nice. Nonetheless, yeah, Manchester City 2, Manchester United 1. Jace, from a City perspective, they take one more step towards the treble, which is really all that mattered coming out of this game for them. And, well, you also beat your City rivals.
Yeah. And Pep had this is only his second FA Cup victory. It seems like they win the cup every year, but it's usually the Carabao Cup they win every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really good performance from them. I thought United schemed pretty well before the game tactically.
Yeah, up
Holland
until
wasn't very useful, but
no.
I mean Gundogan is just so good. Takes one out of the air off, I would say, a poor clearing header, but nonetheless, insane skill to rip that out of the air.
Oh, yeah. And I think we had a game plan going in. I think we stuck with the game plan too. Well, even when the Gundogan goal goes in, I think Eric Ten Hag said, listen, don't shake your stuff. Keep going with what we're trying to do. I don't think United looked absolutely outplayed like we have at times away from Old Trafford specifically. I know neutral venue changes things. You've still got the fans behind you. That's fair. Completely agree. But the game plan didn't change. The setup didn't change. And City struggled like ever so slightly, I think. I think they were not comfortable at any point during the game, fully comfortable. Maybe at 1-0 for the first 15-ish minutes, I was getting a little worried, but Rashford and all them looked, Bruno, everybody, they looked fine and comfortable with what we were trying to do. One, we need a striker. I mean, I've said it all season. That's the United problem from that game. You need someone to be able to put the ball back in the net that's not Rashford. It's kind of it.
And I thought Pep and De Bruyne schemed the Fred nuisance from Old Trafford out of the game. I think they figured out how to stop Fred from being on De Bruyne because he did an insane job at Old Trafford on him.
Yeah, he did.
And I think United were going for that again, but De Bruyne was getting on the ball so much more.
He was, and that right side that since they've done this transformer formation, he started to get into where it's like, okay, I'm get on the right side of the pitch. You can try and man mark me. It's going to allow space for Gundogan. It's going to allow space for Bernardo or Riyad Mahrez, who's ever on the right wing. And it's eventually going to allow space for Erling Haaland. So you can try and man mark me. United tried to do it, and Fred genuinely couldn't keep up with him. And that's not a slight on Fred. That's how good De Bruyne was at getting space. He also tried to do that little piece of skill, the little flick and go around Fred. It just nowhere near pulling it off. But he was, you're right. They schemed it out well. Pep knew what Ten Hag was going to try and do just based on, like Jay said, the Old Trafford game. It was a very similar setup. It was a very similar way of trying to go about the game. Kind of snatch and grab-ish, I will say, but also effective.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So from the City side, you win a treble. Probably. It's going to take a lot from Inter Milan going into this game, I think. In the Champions League final. We'll talk about that more on Friday's episode, obviously. But Erling Haaland a non-factor. Jack Grealish, not really a great game other than getting Wan-Bissaka on an undeserved yellow card. Bernardo Silva, not a great game. But when you need it, Ilkay Gundogan steps up. That's pretty much it. I mean, the two goals, the second goal, obviously, we've already talked about De Gea for the second goal. Not good enough. But the fact of the matter is, he put it in a place that, it should have been saved, but it's a tough save still.
Yeah, and you still have to do it. I mean,
Exactly.
A lot of people would have blasted that over way wide. He put it in a spot where De Gea had to save it. And at points this year with De Gea, just putting it in a spot where you have to save it, you've had pretty good results.
Yeah. The F it De Gea's in goal meme that went viral. Yeah, probably. That was probably going through Ilkay Gundogan's head. I'm not going to lie. Okay. But the fact of the matter is him and I will say De Bruyne too. I think De Bruyne was quiet as far as De Bruyne's level goes, which is the ceiling. But he's the reason, and I forget who said he turns into, was it Kyle Walker? Said he turns into prime Zidane when the
Yeah,
season
I
comes
think
to
it
an
was
end.
Scott Walker.
And that's true. We've seen it over the last like 2 months. He's come up with big goal after big goal, big pass after big pass, and big moment after big moment. And here we are in a FA Cup final against your arch rivals, and boom, that's what you do.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's just he's so impressive. It's right. He does turn into
Zidane,
prime
yeah,
Zidane
he does.
when they need him most. And there's no coincidence, or it's not a coincidence for me that when he turned his season around, started getting more game time every single game, their season started to brighten up.
Oh yeah, and he was integral into I think Pep figuring out that system too. He was like, "Oh, I've got Gundogan. I can just go and put in essentially this free midfield role that he's going to do a bit more defensive work than De Bruyne and help out Rodri and whoever I partner him with in that weird other role in that midfield." So, and it's not a surprise to me that the contract negotiations with City have opened back up. That's not shocking. I think everyone thought it was dead set. He's going to Barcelona. He's going off to elsewhere. He's not going to stay at City. He's 32 years old. And City have said, well, I don't know. I don't know. We could use this next year and probably the year after, and he'd still be effective.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's length that he wants. Like, I think City are offering a 1 year with the option for another, which would likely mean a City option for another. Maybe he wants something more guaranteed.
I would say yes. If I just had to guess, I would say yes. A 2 to 3 year deal for a 32-year-old is rare, though. I remember United used to have the rule way back when you only got a 1 year contract once you got past 30 years old. And I think that was pretty commonplace for most other teams. That's kind of changed, obviously, nowadays, especially with how long some of these guys are able to stay going. We talk about, we're going to get into Ibrahimovic retiring at 40 here in a minute. So there are a lot of stages. And I think if you're Pep Guardiola, you're fine with whatever happens, to be honest with you, with the Gundogan situation. If he leaves,
they'll figure out a replacement.
You've got Kovacic looking like he's going to come in and probably be an ample replacement. You've got plenty of midfield depth. You're going to be fine. And if he stays, boom, you've got him for the next season. Pretty simple.
Exactly. I think it's going to work itself out. I'm with you. I think he'll end up back in City next year, especially if they win the treble.
Yeah. And do we want to talk a little bit about this back line this season? I thought Ruben Diaz was so good on Saturday, pissed me off. This back line,
Stones was so good too.
Stones is immense. Every time he plays in that midfield role, he's really good. And it's starting to make me think like Pep might just do it permanently. And it wouldn't be a problem. It would work. Clearly, it's worked all season since they've moved to this role. It's fine. You're going to be okay. But
Kyle Walker, great.
Kyle Walker was annoyingly good. Didn't give Rashford a sniff. I thought when Garnacho came on, and we've already talked about it, I'm sure at this point, when Garnacho's come on, Walker kind of looked at the sideline and was like, I could do with some help, but he handled it well. He was able to handle an 18-year-old kid coming on, fresh legs, fully ready to run at him, ran at him a couple times, but Kyle Walker never looked like it phased him to the point where, oh, United are going to score here, except for maybe once with the McTominay stuff.
Yeah, so, he's most of the time a big game player too. I feel like he shows up when it matters the most.
Lately,
it hasn't been his best season, without a doubt, especially the first half.
That's what I was about to say.
He started to show up.
People kind of do this thing with Kyle Walker. The last 2 years, they've been like, does he still have it? And then every year he just turns up in a random big game and everyone's like, yep, he still got it. No, he still got it. He still got it. Yep, that makes sense. That adds up. And today was the day. Rashford was dead silent. And it was because of Kyle Walker. He's still good. He's still going to be good. Just because he was ineffective at the beginning with this inverted system that Pep was going with does not mean Kyle Walker's bad. It just means he's not that position of a player. Pep is now, I think, figured out I can play him as a right-sided center back, just as he does with Ake at times on the other side, and he can just man mark and 1v1 defend for the entire game, and that's completely fine.
Yeah, it's just pass. It's good stuff from them all around. Even I guess we mentioned Grealish and Haaland weren't the best, but especially at the back, Rodri was annoying as hell as always, but he looked like he was about to pass out in the 60th minute. Like he didn't track back and everyone was like, whoa, is Rodri hurt? Nope. And then he's just fine.
Just fine. 10 minutes later, just completely fine. City, congratulations. We talked the United side. Listen, I was devastated. openly heartbroken. I sat in my room with nothing, no TV, no phone, just sat in here and just kind of looked because it was heartbreaking. I had a chance and United had a chance to end your treble and we didn't do it. We didn't. And we could have. That's the worst part about the game is you gave us that little sliver of hope that we could have done it and we just absolutely.
Yeah. I do want to end on the handball because it was a handball. I mean, it's been called all year. Like, it is what it is. My issue is with the rule. Like,
Yeah.
they've got to do something to get the point blank handballs like taken away, especially when a player's in the air. And I get his arm was not in a natural position. I don't even know if jumping caused it to be that high, like we've said a few times in the past. I just think that rule has decided too many games, and it doesn't in this game. And it was a right penalty call, as I said, because it's been called all season. I just think that rule needs another tweaking.
It definitely needs a tweaking. Luke Shaw it was the Brighton handball that we got 97 minutes in. Luke Shaw's not even looking at the ball. He's getting a little shove in the back and throws his arms up and the ball hits his hand. It gets called. And the problem with it is, though, I've seen those not called some this season where it's, oh, that's too close, or he didn't know anything about.
Yeah, we don't know what point
are we
blank is.
doing? Yeah, what are we doing? Like point blank, and he didn't know anything about it. We're reading people's mind at this point, is what the handball rule is. And essentially, you're just putting it in the referee's decision of, I guess.
There's so much room for interpretation, and we've seen time and time again, referees just aren't that good.
No, and a lot of them don't know the interpretation. They're looking at it in ultra slow-mo on a screen with some fan 2 feet behind the VAR screen going, F you better give me a penalty or I'm going to come onto the field. Like, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. And until the handball rule is the first thing that's going to need to get fixed for VAR to even be considered okay, I think.
Yeah, they've just got to take away some of the interpretation.
Yeah, just literally also the fact that you still have the screen on the field, I'm just going to get a little VAR discussion. Screen on the field makes no sense to me. As an American who we had the little, like the booth or whatever, right? In the NFL where they'd go under the hood. And that was funny almost at times. They don't even really go that far anymore. It's essentially someone in a booth making a decision independently, watching every single camera angle. I don't know why we've got this joint decision thing of, well, the referee's got it, who's on the field has to see it. It was like, well, you had a chance to see it in live time. Let's give it the guy who's got 18 different cameras looking at it. While I do think that's a little hyper-analyzation, he's got 18 different cameras at it, and he can get the correct decision. You don't have to go to the guy on the field.
And if they are going to do it, I wish they would cover their heads like the NFL.
Yeah, seriously.
Have, like, the camera behind them watching the ref, watching the replay in slow motion. Like, I would rather have the little hood over. But next year, it won't be live audio, but they're releasing the audio communication between the on-field ref and the VAR. I'm sure it'll be like a week later or enough time to cool things off, or Howard Webb will just decide, we're actually not releasing.
We're not going to do this. That is going to be a one-time thing that gets memed into a new dimension by football Twitter, and that's it. We'll lose our privileges immediately.
Yeah, I do want to hear it though, but I want to hear it on the bad decisions. I don't care about the right decisions. I'm glad they came to the right conclusion, but I don't care. I need to know what made people come to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Double J's stance on VAR is make it like the old NFL booths where you have to put a curtain over your head and go and look at it in front of thousands of fans.
Yes.
Boom. There it is. Okay, that's our FA Cup final recap. Anything else, Chase? I think we've pretty much covered it, especially with the interview. Okay, shall we get into our transfer news from this week? Jace's transfer corner, as we call it, and then we'll get into Dylan's stupid transfer corner. That comes after Jace's serious news. Jace, do you have our transfer news ready to go?
Yeah, Spurs have hired a new manager.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You get to tackle the last name.
Damn it. Okay, that was great. Such a good job there, too, of being like, I'm going to throw this right off to him. Yeah,
coming off winning a treble at Celtic. I think he's going to be pretty good. Like, I hope he isn't. No offense, Spurs fans.
Obviously, you don't hope he is as an Arsenal fan, but
I think he's going to be a decent hire. It's going away from what they've been doing or at least Levy's been doing these past three hires. I mean, Nuno, not really this, but Nuno's still a bigger name in recent Premier League years from Wolves from what he did there. But with Mourinho and Conte, it's huge personality, past success. They have their own way of doing things. Well, Daniel Levy has his own way of doing things as well. And that always ends up clashing with big personality managers.
Daniel Levy has his very, 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 very own way of doing things.
Yeah. So
here we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ange Postecoglou.
Yes.
Boom.
Ange will be what he's referred to.
Yeah, Ange. Yes, and we're probably butchering that too somehow. This stinks of Nuno to me. I'm sorry. I have a differing opinion of Jasce. I know this is like one of what you can count. I think that's 1, 2, 3. That's 3 times that's happened this so far in this podcast history, maybe Jasce. But it stinks of Nuno. It stinks of that whole coaching search as a whole too. If you remember, they went through a couple guys.
I went through like 9 with
Nuno. Yeah, but it reminds me of Nagelsmann too. I think Nagelsmann was that whole situation with Nuno, the people before, wrapped up into one manager, and Levy just learned last time, I can't go through 9 candidates again. We got to get somebody that's a guarantee. This is a Celtic manager is kind, I know, wins a treble. Scottish football is very probably properly rated. I'm sorry, probably properly rated. Let's be honest with ourselves. But yeah. I don't see this being we can get top 4.
I don't think that's it either. I
don't see him getting money. I don't see him getting Kane. I don't think this is a hire that keeps Harry Kane being like, oh, you got the Celtic manager. That's right. You sold me, guys. I'm back in, Daniel. And I don't think that the club is going to at all really change from what it is at its foundation because of Daniel Levy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It might not work, or it could not work. I think if it doesn't work, it's because of the foundation you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this guy knows how to manage.
I agree. I do. I want to say that too. I do rate the guy as a manager. It just stinks of you definitely wanted Nagelsmann as your number 1 guy. I mean, that
looks
was
like he's going to PSG.
It looks like he's going to go to PSG. And the one rumored thing he wanted was, his being in charge of transfers, right?
Yeah.
And immediately out. No, thank you. That just stinks of what they went through with those 9 guys during that summer. They got Nuno, where it looked like Kane was going to leave. Like it looks like Kane's going to leave this summer, according to me and according to most people. The squad was shot and unbalanced as far as player personnel goes. It's heavy in one department and thin in others. And a manager that is, I think, a good manager and will get a working out of some of these players that maybe haven't hit the ground running. Basuma, for instance, I think could find a real chance to move into that Højbjerg, Bentancur kind of midfield. I think that could be fun for them. But is it something that makes Harry Kane stay? No. I think it's just an encapsulation of everything they went through a couple summers ago. Put into
I don't think that's keeping Kane.
It's not keeping Kane. Son, if you can get something more out of him, maybe. And again, it's a more attacking manager. And that's what Spurs fans have been asking for. And that's why I think you're kind of calling it the best hire since Pochettino. Did you say that? Or did you?
Yeah, no, I told that to you earlier. And I'm not saying at this time, because Mourinho and Conte, day 1, were both better signings than this.
Yeah.
I think it will work out better. Now, I think that's going to lead to top 4 being considered of like the new up and coming teams with, I would say, United, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Liverpool. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to get them there. I definitely don't think it is this season.
I think it obviously all depends on if Kane stays. If Kane stays
this season, especially, it depends on if Kane stays. And I saw a report today that Levy will be open to selling Kane for a bid of £93 million, but only late in the window, which is the most Daniel Levy thing I've ever heard. Because, like, dude, if you're going to sell him July 1st, you have time to invest that 93. What's the point of selling him in August? And I'm sure they'll panic buy if they do, and if that ends up happening. But
you're forgetting they already have Kane's replacement at the club.
Oh, Richarlison.
Richarlison. Yeah. No, they're good.
Yeah,
They're fine.
you're
They'll be
right.
okay. They'll be okay.
Maybe he's going with Emerson Royale to Real Madrid.
And that also fits United's transfer policy perfectly. Just going and spending 93 on Kane in like August 1st. It wouldn't surprise me. And he could still end up at Madrid. We'll talk about that here in a bit. I don't think this hire is going to work. I think he's actually going to get screwed. I think he's a good manager who's going to go into a place that is just, it's like the dog walking into the fire. This is fine. Or Troy walking into
it could
with the pizza.
It could implode.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to walk in, go, what the hell? What the hell? What did I just walk in? Where is this? This is a Big Six club. This is supposed to be a club that fights for Champions League and doing this kind of stuff. Where am I walking into? I don't see it. All right.
Yeah. Now they got to get it together and try and get their transfer strategy ready. They've waited long enough to get this manager hire.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's taken forever. That's also a bad look. But they've got him in. I think he is a good manager. I just don't think Daniel Levy or Tottenham are going to change in the 4 months since Antonio Conte got sacked. I don't think anything's changed since at that point.
You could very well be right, but in the end, I think if this fails, it's because of what's going on behind the scenes at Spurs, not necessarily because this guy's a bad manager.
I also want to say, if it does fail at this point, Tottenham fans, come on, let's get some sort of genuine protest going and not just Levy out trending on Twitter. And
I know it's just like Levy out will trend on Twitter and you'll like see a picture here and there, but they've never done anything substantial. No, and I don't mean go and cancel a game.
No. I'm saying go and cancel a game personally. Just it worked okay for us, Jace. I mean, strategically, kind of worked okay. Ever since that point, the Glazers have had some trouble and are trying to sell the club at this point. So maybe do cancel a game.
Yeah. Who knows?
All right. Moving right along. Next up.
All right, let's get to the PSG stuff because they actually signed a couple people.
Ugarte
is going from Sporting to PSG. It looked like he was going to go to Chelsea, but PSG offered more money, so he's going to PSG. And then Asensio did sign on a free transfer from Real Madrid to PSG. So I'd say two pretty solid signings. The 60 million for Ugarte is interesting. It'll be worth it if he works out, but
a lot of questions on the guy.
PSG, it doesn't matter if you're good in Ligue 1.
No, it doesn't.
It matters if he plays well in the Champions League. That's what he's going to be judged from the wider audience, from maybe from PSG fans. They're going to take the league into account some, but they still even care about the UCL way more.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. And I think,
for him to be worth that money, he's going to have to show up in Europe.
Yeah. And that's the only, realistically, guys, I would love to come on here and be like, I'm going to watch every single Liga PSG game and give you a genuine take on Manuel Ugarte. I'm not. I'm going to watch him in the Champions League because in all reality, that's when it really turns on for PSG. And there's a lot of questions about him. Most of it from Chelsea fans who are, I think, just quite upset that he chose instead to go to PSG instead of Chelsea after it looked like he was dead set to go to Chelsea. Do I really think that you're missing out on a whole lot with the back line and the depth you have, especially if you can keep hold of Levi Colwill? No. Nope. Not that much.
No, I don't think so either. They did get a taste of their own medicine.
Oh, yeah. It was a big taste of your own medicine moment. And Asensio, I think that's clearly just we knew Messi was leaving this summer.
Yeah. And Messi got booed off in his last game.
Come on. I mean, I'm a Ronaldo guy, and you don't boo Messi off when he's leaving. I know it hasn't worked out the way you wanted to. You're going to boo Neymar off when he leaves? Well, they probably are.
Yeah, they probably will.
They probably will. Yeah, no, they will. Yeah.
What was I thinking reason there? Liga is a significant fifth.
Yes.
In European league rankings.
Yeah, you crap down your club legends' throats when they decide to amicably leave. Right. Make it make sense, Chase. Okay. Let's take our episode break real quick. Congrats to PSG for Ugarte and Asensio. Those are going to be good players for him. But again, Jace is right. All that matters is to see if that works out in the Champions League. Jace, what are those tickets behind you out of curiosity?
2018 World Cup.
Ooh, what games?
Denmark, France, 0-0.
Mm-hmm.
And Brazil, Serbia, 2-0. Thiago Silva and I think Polina scored.
Polina, nice. Ooh, throwback Polina. Yeah, Jace went to Russia. Not me. That was him. All right.
That
We'll
was
be back
me.
after, we'll be back after this episode break. See you on the other side. Okay. Welcome back. Double J weekend review / Jace's transfer corner time that we interrupted. Jace, please continue.
All right. Next, the Benzema saga has come to an end. I wouldn't even call it a saga. It was like a 4-day thing. He's moving to Saudi Arabia, gets 100% of his image rights, like 3-year, 680 something million dollar contract, choice of residence, and he picked Al Ittihad. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but yeah, Benzema's going to Saudi Arabia, and that puts Real Madrid on the striker market. Whether it'll be Harry Kane or it looks like they're going after Kai Havertz. Interestingly enough, they could sign someone like Bobby Firmino on a free, get Jolisu. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. I think they're not going to like dish out all the cash on Harry Kane necessarily because they want Haaland next summer.
Yeah.
If they don't want to go after Haaland for 2 more years, I think they'll go after Harry Kane.
It's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen in Madrid. The first thing I want to say on this whole Benzema stuff is quick round of applause for Saudi Arabia. Congratulations. You are the new retirement league. Good job, guys.
Yes.
You did it. You took it from China, who took it from the MLS. So
Yes.
good for them.
And their government has also invested 20 billion into
Casual.
making the league more respected, I guess would be the best way to put it.
So not a retirement home is what they put the 20
Correct.
billion
I
toward?
think they're going to start trying to get players that aren't quite there yet. I know they're going after Conte, who's had an injury riddled last couple of years, but
yeah,
I know they're going after him.
Be interesting.
Remember
China got Oscar. China got Oscar when he was in the prime of his career at Chelsea, and I think everyone.
And speaking of Polina, they got Polina too.
Yeah, that's true. They got Polina. That's right.
But they got him.
Yeah, and then you thought that was going to be what kicked it on with China, and then just all the rumors that came out of that of players not going to be paid and all that crap kind of felt like it killed it off. And they started putting in rules that were like, you can't have that. We're not going to let this happen unregulated.
Saudi Arabia is never going to have that problem.
No, that is
they'll always be able to pay you, and they're never going to stop people from spending money. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting trend, but I don't blame Benzema at all for going there. Massive contract. He's achieved everything. Leaves Real Madrid with 25 trophies after being there since he was 21 years old. 5-time Champions League winner.
He's had an incredible career.
Was 1/3 of one of the most prolific front threes of the last decade, maybe the last 2 decades.
The most?
I would say the most, but the Barcelona people want to say Messi, Suarez, Neymar. I always preferred BBC, but I
personally preferred Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez. So that's just, we're going 20 years. I mean, Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez.
Give me Bale, Benzema, Cristiano.
Real Madrid comes out on you always. Speaking of, I want to get into the Kai Havertz stuff just for a second. It is looking like Real Madrid, according to Fabrizio Romano, will insist, using his own words, for Kai Havertz in the next days. No issues on personal terms, as the player's going to be keen for the move, and Chelsea are opening to selling Havertz, as reported 2 days ago from Fabrizio. Jace, that has to be the weirdest transfer that's going to happen this summer is if Real Madrid buy Kai Havertz.
It's definitely the first weird domino to fall, I would say. Because I just don't see how he fits into their system. Ancelotti likes to play a 4-3-3. We've seen Havertz deployed as a striker this year. He's just not a good enough finisher, decides with his head. So I'm not sure he's not Karim Benzema. No, I know there's not really a Karim Benzema out there, but if you want another Karim Benzema, your guy's Harry Kane. It's not Kai Havertz.
Yeah, and obviously I'm all for Kai Havertz as a United fan going to Real Madrid because I think that takes them out of the Harry Kane saga, especially with Bellingham coming in the summer, especially with them wanting to get Erling Haaland in a couple of years. I just think that's a guaranteed, dead certain plan for Perez.
It's definitely in the plans. We'll see if it happens, but I have no doubt either that that's in his plans.
And my only concern is I still don't know what Kai Havertz's best position is, and I've been watching him for 3 years in the league. He's been played off the right. I think he's ineffective there. I do think he is a good number 10. He's very tall, which I think is why managers like to put him as a striker or a false nine. I really don't think that works. I think they could go get someone cheap. I do think he could add something to their team. I'm not fully on the Kai Havertz's career is just destroyed train. I'm on the maybe he wasn't good enough for the Premier League train, which I think is a good train to be on because it just leaves
He's
me
also
open to being right for
dealt
a
with
little bit.
extreme dysfunction.
Oh yeah, dude, Chelsea's been
I
a
mean,
shit show since he
besides
got there.
besides Tuchel from when he took over
Yeah,
to the end of last season, not like to the end of 21-22, when
yeah,
things were already starting to get a little rough. And then, but since then, this entire season was absolute turmoil.
turmoil.
I mean,
And he got scapegoated
three
by us
three
and by a lot of
permanent,
people.
yeah, three permanent-ish managers and then a fourth win for that one interim game. So I mean, I still think it's just like Mason Mount. I feel like
It's just time. It's a better.
Havertz could be a lot better at Real Madrid. We won't know. I mean, there's a reason they're going after him. There's a reason he cost Chelsea that much money at 21 years old.
Yep.
He was one of the most sought after players. I think everyone was fairly pissed when they
Yeah.
got him.
Yeah,
It's like, dang,
I was.
Chelsea are going hard this summer. Him, Ziyech, Werner,
Yep.
all of that. And of course,
Yep.
none of it has really worked out very well. But I think it could be okay at Madrid. It just depends on what they pay.
It's going to be weird if they play him as a striker. I agree with you there. He's not a striker to me. He is more of a number 10. And again, he's in that Nkunku, João Felix, Kai Havertz. They're all in that little bundle of like not a striker, not really a number 10, but probably closer to a number 10 than they are a striker.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
agree.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in Madrid. I think that will happen. I think it makes sense for them to get Havertz and then maybe go and get a Bobby Firmino. There's been rumors of Joselu from Espanyol, who I think could work. And again, I'm completely and openly admitting that I am saying this and on this side because I want Harry Kane at United. It's just
Fair enough.
it's what I want. It's what I want it. We will be there. Do I think they can spend? I also just don't think they can spend that money. Bellingham, Kane, Havertz is Madrid could do it. They could. Don't get me wrong. They could do it. Will they? I don't know. Especially with them, I think they've got this weird plan of getting Holland and Mbappe on the same team. Perez is the like weird Infinity Stone Thanos. I dominate football now. Like, it could happen. I don't think they can go and spend 300 million 3 summers before they do that, or 2 summers before they try and do that. It'd be tough.
I think they can. I just don't think they will.
That too, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
also
All right.
hoping they won't.
Let's move on to Alexis McAllister.
Yep.
He is headed to Liverpool. That's happening. I mean, I think everyone saw it coming from the last few weeks of the season. He had a release clause that was way too low. I think it's lower than the reported 45 million euros.
Was that include like add-ons and stuff?
I'm not sure. I think it was straight release clause.
That's nuts. Okay.
Good signing for Liverpool. They certainly needed it. He won't be the last midfielder to come in. They've already been linked with a few other guys.
Yeah. There's going to be more.
Yeah. I think great signing for Liverpool, especially if it's for less than the reported 45. I think 45 would have been fair.
45 is probably fair. I always thought 70 and 80 he's a good player. He's a very good midfielder. We love him. We've loved him at Brighton. We big up. Always been on that. The inflated price tags are getting a little excessive here because you're getting a good box to box / number 10 midfielder, right? A creative player going forward who can still do some of the dirty work going back. Reminds me a little bit. He's got that little bit of Bruno in him where he will give the ball away a little bit going forward, but it's going to be on passes that when they do come off are going to be great. I think it's a good signing for Liverpool. I said Liverpool needed 2 to 3 midfielders this summer. Very obviously, Klopp noticed that as well. Kefren Thuram is another one that we've seen be mentioned coming from Nice, conveniently owned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Kone's at Lille, isn't he?
Yeah. No,
okay, Kone at Lille. Yeah,
too.
yeah, Kone, who's supposed to be a freak. And if they can get 2 to 3 in, I'm a little scared. I still think they need another center back and probably a right back to be able to get back to where they were fighting City. I do think you still need to move on with the plan of putting Trent in midfield.
Yeah, and I think they need another midfielder on top of moving Trent. I think they need
That's
3.
what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, if they move Trent, they need one more. So I think they will.
Probably a center back, probably obviously a right back at that point if you're moving Trent into midfield. You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot.
How good are Liverpool at getting early business done, though?
Dude,
They
insane.
really so good at it.
And they just got a sporting director 5 days ago. They got a sporting director 5 days ago. He's done more than United's entire top backroom staff, upper transfer business guys. I don't call them sporting directors because that's not what they are. He's done more in 5 days than they have in like 6 months. It's insane.
Yeah,
they're so good at it. They're so good at it. And credit to them. They're going to keep on doing it. They're going to get another midfielder in here soon. I guarantee you they'll get another midfielder in here soon. And after that point, who knows? They could challenge. I do think they're going to be significantly better than they were this year, especially in that weird spot after the World Cup, especially before the World Cup, where it was just, or the beginning of the season where it was just weird. He's clearly said, I need this group together early in order to even be able to say we can have a spitting chance at fighting whatever it is City is going to be next season.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, let's move on and run through these players Leicester announced are leaving, not getting new contracts.
Yeah.
Soyuncu, we've already talked about that. He's headed to Atletico.
Yep.
Tielemans, of course. Daniel Amarty, Mendy, Ryan Bertrand, Iosi Perez, and Tete, who was just on loan from Shakhtar Donetsk.
Yeah.
Kind of while their season was suspended. So he's going back there. We'll see what comes of that. And then out of Italy today, really out of nowhere, Maldini is quitting from AC Milan after a fiery meeting with the board, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's leaving. If he wants another job, he'll get one. He's done a great job dealing with Milan's financial issues. Being forced to lose someone like Donnarumma on a free.
And then they won the title.
Won the title last year. So yeah, if he wants a job as a sporting director, he'll get one.
He will definitely get one. United obviously need one. But nonetheless, I do think that's weird just from the fact of he built this team with handcuffs and all of a sudden you're not going to agree with him as higher ups. I'm sure AC Milan fans are not happy.
Won the league last year, Champions League semifinals this year, beat the champions in the quarterfinals. I mean, very odd to see a higher up leave after that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. I want to talk a little Moises Caicedo real quick. Looking like there are going to be a bunch of teams in for him, obviously. The valuation now is high, I believe, but it's looking like, if I had to predict, there were rumored links of United today, he's going to be at Chelsea next year. I think it'll probably be around 70 million, but that stuff is already heated up. So just keep an eye on that. It is something to look at, but it's looking like they're going to lose both McAllister and Caicedo. Funnily enough, they've already signed James Milner on a free. They had signed Mahmoud Dahoud, which is just a sick name to be able to say, regardless of if I butchered it or not, from Borussia Dortmund, and get 2 experienced midfielders in while they're going to sell 2 of their younger midfielders. That just feels like big club stuff, doesn't it?
And while we talk about James Milner needing to be moved on from Liverpool needing to move on from James Milner, however you want to say it, it's a good signing for Brighton.
Yes.
They're about to be playing in 4 competitions for the first time ever. James Milner has been playing in 4 competitions every year for practically his entire career once he moved to Manchester City. So it's a good signing for Brighton. They need that experience. He doesn't have to play every game, but he's going to go out there. He's always going to be fit. Most of the time going to be fit. Doesn't get injured very often. And can play a plethora of positions, which is huge under De Zerbi.
I'm going to paint a picture here for you, and I'm going to see if you would take this as put your Brighton hat on, Jace. You lose Alexis McAllister. Okay, gone already. Whatever. You knew it was going to happen probably as a Brighton fan coming in 2 months ago.
And didn't get as much as you would have if you didn't have a release clause, which is part of what I think they're jacking this Caicedo price up because there's multiple suitors and they can make up for some of the money lost on McAllister.
You get 65 to 70 for Caicedo. I think that's a max he's worth, and that is something Brighton could get, probably. 65 to 70 for Caicedo, and you get Levi Colwill permanently. With Dahoud and Milner coming in, do you win that transfer business?
probably.
I would say so
Because
too, because the money
if they
you
get
too.
65 to 70 cash for Caicedo
Yep.
plus Caldwell, I don't know his value, it'd probably be 30 to 30, maybe 25.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Then that's basically a 100 million euro transfer for Moises Caicedo, and he's a fantastic player. But when you start approaching 100 million for deep lying midfielders like Enzo,
Yeah.
like it's going to be pretty much impossible for Enzo to live up to his price tag with the position that he plays. I think
agree.
it's kind of the same way with Caicedo.
Yeah. I also think that Levi Colwell's probably, I think they put a 30 million pound bid in and Chelsea felt insulted. So probably maybe closer to 35 to 40, but realistically, I'm sure his actual transfer value is about 30 million.
Yeah.
He was also hurt a lot of last season, if I remember correctly, for Brighton.
Yes.
When he did play, he was incredible though. Okay. Getting to more of my stupid little transfer news stuff. Juan Mata finally wins a league title. Won it in Turkey for Galatasaray. Pretty sick, and hadn't won a
Mauro
league title.
Icardi was the best player for this Galatasaray team this year.
That is crazy. He's got to be like 31, 32.
Yeah.
Because he went over there when he was like 28.
Yeah, it was weird. His whole career just ended up weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what happens when you start cheating with your friends or with your teammates' wives. Bad karma. Bad karma.
Yeah.
Pedro Porro. Zlatan Ibrahimovic retires from football at 40 years of age. Big celebrations at the end of Serie A yesterday for the Swede, former United player. So I've obviously got to somehow make this about United. Former United player, most notably, I think, at PSG. Those years at PSG were insane. His Barcelona years were fun. His Inter Milan years were very fun. Just a sick dude. And someone that everyone knows. Even over here, you say Zlatan, everybody knows Zlatan. Everybody.
Yeah. He's literally one of a kind.
One of one. And I think Holland is like a close two, kind of.
But Holland isn't as big of an egomaniac. Like Zlatan is just
No, yeah.
I mean, Zlatan would refer to himself as Zlatan in interviews. When the whoever they were playing, when the fans started booing him, he was like, "This is the biggest moment of your year, getting to see me." It's just like this morning. He said, "When I woke up, it was raining, and even God is shedding tears." Like he's just like, he's the best. The sport's going to be a little different without him.
Yeah.
I believe he's 41 too. I think he made it all the way to 41.
I did. I think you're right. It is Holland's mantle, though, in my mind, to pick up of just craziness in interviews and stuff like that. We need more Holland on Minecraft too. We need a Holland streaming this summer. I think because I'd watch that personally. Just listen to our own Holland. And last piece of news: Toby Alderweireld. Goodness, just sounded like I had a speech impediment. Toby Alderweireld, an absolute banger for Royal Antwerp in essentially a buzzer beater to win the league. And Jace, you have to explain how they do their league system and the way that it halves and points and all that stuff.
Yeah, so when they get to 34 games played, everyone gets their points cut in half, which is how Antwerp won on like 47 points, I think it was. But you get your points cut in half, then the top 4 teams all play each other home and away. So you end up with 40 games played. And whoever is at the top after those last 6 games wins. And that is how, in the 88th minute, Union Saint-Gilles, or as Dylan calls them, Union Stalingrad, were lifting the trophy. And then in the 89th minute, Genk were lifting the trophy. And then after Alderweireld scored, Antwerp won. So it leads to an exciting end. It's just a very strange way to do it, cutting
So
everyone's
weird.
points in half and
then telling
just
you go play the best teams.
deleting the rest of the schedule and being like, all right, you 4 are playing each other.
Yeah. Very weird. Nonetheless, congrats to Toby Alderweireld. Kind of forgot he was still playing, to be honest. All right. Jace, you got anything else?
That's it.
All right. I've been Dylan.
I've been Jace. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. We will see you guys Friday. We're going to do team reviews, some Premier League team reviews that we haven't done. We said we were going to do that in the award show. We're actually going to do that on Friday because we lie to you all the time. Let's be honest. We say we're going to do stuff and we lie to you all the time. This one we're doing on Friday. We'll have some Champions League final preview, of course. we were gonna do a split team. I'm getting a little tired of the combined 11 BS with city teams because it's just all city players.
You end up taking people out that are better because you just want, like, you want to
Creativity.
have some like diversity
Yeah.
in there. It can't just be one team.
We're not doing it. We refuse. We will talk about the game. We will hype up the game. We'll try and do a little segment of the game that we can come up with that's Double J's little twist on it. So thank you. You guys have a good evening. We'll see you on Friday. Peace.